Hi, Michael William Denny of ThunderShamanism.com, ThunderWizard.com, and AskTheShaman.com. And so today we're going to continue in our discussion in the book Shamanism for White People, Reclaiming Our Animist Heritage. And so today we're going to talk about the idea of, why do white people hate the earth? Or at the very least, why do other cultures have this experience that white people are just hate the earth and are so destructive? And again, how you feel about that is going to, your reaction to that is going to tell me a lot about your connection to yourself, your connection to other things. Because listen, we have to be real. You know, Europeans have done a huge amount of damage to the natural world. Huge. I mean, and if you have some defense against that, then I can only conclude that you have some severely untreated self-hatred and shame connected to it, because that's what people do when they have so much shame that they can't tolerate it. Then what they do is they become overly defensive. But even so, let's take a look in the way that the energy companies work. We know, for example, that there are so many different ways for us to get the energy that we need and fuel our cars and do all kinds of other stuff without using oil, without using petroleum. And yet we go to all this trouble to make sure that we keep using gas. Well, there's more to it than just economics. There's also a subconscious emotional issue going on there. And this is what we're going to talk about. So first we're going to talk about the idea of spiritual separation, because this is where it comes from. And during the Middle Ages, when the Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire, was taking over Europe and Northern Europe, they were conquering the native shamanic tribes that lived there, and they would either slaughter or at the edge of a blade convert people to Christianity. So you didn't have a choice. If you wanted to survive, if you wanted to stay alive and didn't want to get put to death, you had to become a Christian. You had to become a Christian if you wanted to make money. And again, it was part of this global colonialism, this empire mentality that was continuing to grow from the early Roman Empire into the Holy Roman Empire. And so in order to convert people not only into a new religion, but into an economic and political way of living that the emperors could control, is they converted them to Christianity. So one of the biggest problems that Christianity had is that people didn't want to let go of their indigenous polytheist shamanic traditions. And so embedded within the Bible was something that was very helpful, which was this idea of spiritual separation. That there was the Heavenly Father up in heaven, and then there was these bad, sinful human beings here on earth. And so anything that had to do with the physical body, anything that had to do with the earth, anything that had to do with physicality in any way whatsoever was considered sinful and evil. And so anything that wasn't physical was good and spiritual. And so, basically anything you wanted to do, you had to feel guilty about. Well, that's a really great way to control people, because then you can then go against their instincts. If their instincts are, towards the earth and earth-friendly ways, then all you have to do is say, oh, that's your sinful thinking. And there became this idea of the spiritual man and the fleshly man and all this kind of dualism. This is when we were really we were introduced to this idea of dualism. Before that time, we lived in a holographic universe where everything was interconnected. The web of weird, for example, is this web of life force energy that connects everything, very deep subjects. And we were that was taken from our vocabulary, except for the word weird. Interestingly enough, we can talk about another time. But so that's where it starts. It starts from this idea that there's this separation between good and spiritual and bad and physical. And then what ends up happening is the Holy Roman Empire's missionaries come in and they start converting people. And whenever there's a connection to the old ways, they would simply make that bad and evil. In fact, you have a lot of Christian churches that are built on places that used to be pagan worship sites. And those, those sites became Devil's Hill or Devil's Lake, or, it was evil, it was wrong, all this kind of stuff. And the gods of the ancestors then were turned into demons that needed to be cast out. So it's important that we understand that this was a foundation of Western civilization to this day, regardless of whether somebody is religious or not. If they're an atheist and a scientist, whether they realize it, they're still operating from this idea that there's this separation between the physical realm and the either mental realm or the spiritual realm. This is why, modern scientists cannot even accept the idea of any kind of energetic life force. Anyway, that's a whole other subject. So, this has been pounded into us to the point where we have this inherent hatred towards the earth. This is why, even though we know that, we know that petroleum causes, even if you don't believe in global warming, nobody can deny that it causes all kinds of pollution problems. And it causes all kinds of other problems as well. And still we go after it. Why do we do that? Because as a society, we're still operating from that belief system that has been put deeply into our unconscious mind that tells us that the earth is bad. And so there's this hatred towards the earth to this day. This is why we chop down entire forests. This is why we continue to develop in natural places. It's because people carry this hatred within them towards the earth. How did that happen? That happened because, talking specifically about my ancestors are Norse and Anglo-Saxon, the Germanic tribes. The Germanic tribes were people who worshipped nature more fiercely than, or at least as intensely as anybody else on the planet. And one of the core foundational belief systems of the tribal Europeans was that of defeating and destroying evil and negativity, and that your word was your truth. If you made a vow, your vow was your entire life. And so warriors' entire existence was about destroying evil and negativity. So the Christians did a really brilliant thing, which was that they took the thing that was most valuable to the Germanic tribes people, which was nature, and turned nature into something evil. Now, they manipulated the Germanic tribal mindset, which has within it this idea of fighting, defending the home, defending your family, and fighting against negativity. And so they made the earth the enemy. And now you put that into the mind of a tribal Germanic warrior, and the tribal Germanic warrior is going to start destroying the earth. Because that's how they're built. It's in our DNA to fight against negativity. And once we were dislodged from protecting the earth, then there was nothing to keep that destructive power at bay. The Germanic tribal people were so deeply connected to the earth that the first Roman historians talk about it, that they didn't even have idols. They didn't have idols that looked like anything. They saw the gods in the atmosphere, in the plants, in the rocks, in the trees. That's where the gods lived, in the stars. And that's how they worshipped, was they worshipped the gods directly through nature. And in fact, the tribal Germanic people were they worshipped the earth so much that there were entire forests that were off limits. Because in their mind, that's where the gods lived. That's where the spirits lived. And those forests were so holy that if you had to travel through them, you had to get off your horse and you had to walk very slowly. You couldn't make a sound. You go into the forest nowadays and you hear people just making all kinds of noise and chainsaws and pew pew, making as much noise as they can. This comes from that same, they don't understand. They have this unconscious hatred of the earth. That's why they make all that noise. Our tribal Germanic ancestors, if you went through one of these forests and you fell down, you had to crawl the rest of the way out. Because that meant that the spirits of that place didn't want you there, and out of respect, you crawled out. Nowadays, what do people do? They're just going to chop things down. There was an understanding from woodcutters. There were people whose job it was to cut wood. And they would go into the forest and they would select the trees that they could get permission from the spirits to cut. When they cut those trees down, they would put a mark on that tree, which would then be used as a talisman to allow the spirit of that tree to find a safe place to live. They understood if you cut a tree down, the spirit of that tree had no place to go. These are our ancestors. The ancestors of the modern day people who go in with giant machines and just cut down entire forests. These are your ancestors. This is coming from your DNA. So we could go on and on and on and on and on about that. So if you want more information, go ahead and click on the link below. You can buy Shamanism for White People or Reclaiming Our Animist Heritage. You can click on thundershamanism.com, thunderwizard.com to see all my other books and DVDs. You want to talk to me directly, click on asktheshaman.com, click on the button, follow the directions. You can talk to me on the phone or get a rune reading from me. Or one-on-one instruction in shamanism from me. Also, if you like these videos, go ahead and click on support this channel. I look forward to the next chapter.